You've heard about Brexit, but haven't had time to look into it deeply. Trying to figure out what happened and what is going to happen can be very confusing. So in this video, I'm going to try and break down an incredibly complex issue into 3 minutes. Helping me will be former Scottish First Minister Henry McLeish, who gave a speech on campus hosted by the School of Global Studies and Partnerships. The European Union is an economic and political union, but it is mostly economic. It's also a supranational union, with elected officials that often originate as politicians from its member states. Leaving the EU will give the UK more sovereignty in regards to its own economic policies, but it will also mean the destruction of many trade agreements that will have to be renegotiated, which could harm the UK's economy in both the short term and the long term.
There are two ways you could look at Brexit. One, you can conceive of it as an act of national self-harm from which it may take 10, 20, 30 years to recover. On the other hand, there are those in the UK who see it as an issue of identity, an issue where we can reshape our identity, move forward in the world, build new relationships, and replace the undoubted prosperity that we've had since 1973 as members of the EU with new prosperity.
The UK joined the precursor to the EU in 1973 under the leadership of Prime Minister Ted Heath. Prime Minister David Cameron hosted a referendum on the issue of leaving the EU in the hopes of moving on past the issue to focus on what he viewed as more important political goals.
He decided that he had had enough of a group within his own party causing mayhem and mischief. And he took the decision to say, okay, this is an internal problem for me, but I'll ask the public of Britain to solve it. And he put it to a referendum.
But 43 years after joining, the UK would vote in a very close referendum to leave. Henry McLeish argues that one of the primary motivations for leaving is that the UK is unable to let go of its ideas of British exceptionalism.
Because it seems that we, of all the countries, in this first point, are unable to cope with ostensibly being a good team player. From 1973 to now, the EU has been a good friend, a good ally. People think they could do better. They love their country. They want to be good patriots, and that has no scope or no room for other countries to come in. But look, even the United States is not fully sovereign. It shares part of its sovereignty with other international bodies.
As the process of leaving the EU has already begun, it seems likely that the question is whether UK officials will be able to negotiate an acceptable deal to leave the EU, or will be forced to leave unconditionally, which could be highly damaging to the UK economy. Regardless of the inevitable break, McLeish believes that referendums that are based on victories by tiny margins are fundamentally flawed.
With the referendum, with a country split down the middle, it's all about the winners and not about the losers. And then people say to me it's democratic. Is it? Is it? If democracy is measured on the basis you have one vote more than the other party, how democratic is that?